All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Joined once again by legendary strength coach Dan, John, and Dan. How has your week of lifting and all that good stuff been?
Good. I'm just back from my high school 50th year reunion,
Oh, nice.
and it was really good. I got to hang out with my brother Gary, got to hang out with my old training partner Eric Subert, who was just a Eric and I probably spent 3 or 4 hours together just walking and talking, and it was just marvelous.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And then seeing, of course, I saw my nephew, and then a cool event happened. But my reunion was wonderful. They had a whole bunch of pictures I'd never seen before, high school football. I took, and I put them up on my Facebook, and it was just kind of cool,
Yeah, yeah, for
just to
sure.
see something happen 51 years ago, high school football 51. And then we went to this bar after called Malloy's, and felt this big paw on my shoulder, and it was my cousin. So we made some phone calls, and next thing you know, I got four of my cousins there hanging out with me too. So that was
Yeah,
pretty
very, very
remarkable.
cool. And this is back in California?
South San Francisco, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. How about that? That has to be really cool. I mean, I remember I went to my 10 year.
yeah,
I'm past that, and that felt cool because it had been a decent number of years since I've seen a lot of those cats. So yeah, that must have been pretty neat. The 50
yeah.
year mark.
And
Yeah.
I mean, there's some. I tell you one thing, folks. If you do have a chance to go to reunions, I'd recommend it because you always hear that drugs are bad, but everybody who did drugs when I was in high school are either dead or in really serious trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Can attest to that as well. Yeah.
and clicks are an interesting thing. Certain it is strange that. So I had a lot of friends who just stayed in their own little neighborhood clique through high school, and then none of them showed up, but it is wonderful who does, and there are
Yeah.
just so many great life lessons. People who know you so well. My friend Robin Rootfin, she drove us around, and we had a chance to catch up. I've known her since first grade, so it's pretty remarkable. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
it
good.
was funny. No, it was funny because I just happened to be in Wisconsin when this was back my 10 years when I was still living in PA. So I was just like, oh, what the hell? We'll go. I don't really have any expectations, and I was surprised at how pleasant it was. So yeah, I agree. I agree with that. It's if you can go to the reunion, go ahead and do it. You might be surprised. You might end up having a nice time, right?
Yeah, and uh, you know, I've also been told by people they don't want to go back because, oh, I was like this in high school. Nobody remembers that. Nobody remembers. I mean, what people remember about you are generally either it's a you. They remember when you were kind, and I guess they remember when you were awful. But that no one brings up the awful at the 50 because nobody remembers. Yeah,
Yeah, people mature. People do. Well, I
yeah,
guess not everybody, but a lot of people mature and move on,
yeah.
and it's good. So awesome. And then how about the gym, Dan? What's going on there? Oh, you got a new book
Well,
out too. All right, lots to discuss. So yeah, go
yeah.
in
Oh,
order.
yeah.
Yeah.
Armor Building Formula 2 came out just the other day. But in the gym, my body weight is still up a little bit from the Australia trip, and then of course going to California for a couple of days, eating out restaurants and everything. And but the nice thing is, I'm still. Oh, by the way, the nice thing about where I'm at with my body weight now is that I can't really tell that I've added weight, but I see it on the scale, and then I see it. I just see it on the scale. I don't necessarily see it on the measurements, so that makes me still think that I put weight on traveling. I don't know if it's the salt in the food or what. And everybody I know also has a head cold. So if I make strange noises or whatever, I apologize today.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No,
my
it's going
lifting is
around.
going really well. After that time in Australia, my coach told me to do something I think is brilliant. I should start fresh again and build back up. So when I left for Australia, I lifted at certain numbers, and I'm starting to come back up to them. And I think
Excellent.
there's a genius in hiring somebody to think for you. Yeah.
Yeah, always your own worst client. All
Oh,
right.
worse, the
Yeah.
worst. I'm the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record. We've spoken about this before, but there's certain things I think are very much worth coming back to frequently. And I don't care who you are, and maybe even more so if you are a coach. that's just all the more reason to have coaches yourself. I mean, I think there's something to that. Like, being a coach doesn't mean you should know. If anything, it means you should take having coaches even more seriously, right?
That's a good, like, if you're a lawyer, you should understand the importance of legal representation. But very often coaches will coach themselves, lawyers will, doctors, I remember one time my doctor telling me that some of the worst people about going medical care are doctors. Yeah.
I could
I
see
thought
that. Yeah, I could
it was just
definitely.
because you're around it all day. Interesting thing he told me last time, if you don't mind me jumping in,
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
that when doctors get certain diseases, almost very rarely do they get treatments. He said, like certain cancers, they just say, fine, I'll just take, I think it's called palliative care, and and just let it go. I thought it was really interesting. Doctors who've seen what's coming opt not to do that. I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, not totally surprising, but yeah, there's a phenomena there that's worth reflecting upon. So good. Hey, real quick before we take questions from the audience and keep them coming, gentle listeners, we'll get there in a minute. Tell us a little bit more about the new book, Dan.
Well, it's the title's pretty sexy. It's Armor Building Formula 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, where do you come up with a name like that?
Yeah, Revenge of the Armor Building Formula.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not a supplement. It's just when I started answering all the questions and things came up, and so there's pull-up programs, row programs, senior programs. I get so many questions on pressing. And I got to be honest with you, gentle listeners, I'm not good at it because I'm a pretty natural presser. But I mean, obviously I coach, so I've had to work on that. But there's a lot of new information. There's armor building formula for fat loss. There's a part at the end that I like a lot, but some people have commented they didn't think it was necessary. But it's just some newer insights I've had on getting things done. Kind of a mental framework, which I'm always working on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the secret to life right there. Do you mind? You got a tip or two you can share while we're on the theme?
Well, okay, here's a big one. I mean, I don't know if this part's in the book, but I have this concept called NAGA, NAGA. I'm not going to do that again. And it was really helpful for me, even at my reunion. People will ask me, "Oh my God, you traveled a lot." Yeah, I traveled a lot. And then they'll say, "Did you ever go to?" And I'm not going to be specific, but did you ever go to a specific place? Yeah. Would you go back? Naga. Not going to do that. It's just really helpful. Certain exercises, certain ideas. It's nice. Like, for example, I'm never going to do a mass building program again. Naga. Frankly, I don't think I'll ever do the 10,000 swing challenge again.
Oh,
I mean, I've done it 14 times.
That's a lot. It's a lot of swings.
So Naga, and just not. The other one is really knowing your values. That has helped me so much. My other Patrick in my life, Patrick Ides, he and I we worked on my values really seriously. And my 3 core values are fitness, order, and generosity. And I've said here on the podcast, it's the fog that gets me out of the fog. Fitness, order, generosity.
Oh, I like that. That's
and if you have if you know your values, it becomes easier to figure out. A lot of people, and God bless them, they're wandering stars. They say they want to get in shape, but then it doesn't survive 24 hours. Part of it is because they haven't linked their value structure in with this goal that they suddenly set up.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, there's
if you can have conflicting goals. Now, I think you could probably be happily married to someone for generations with a different value set. I think that's perfectly okay, because values are things you value. But you have to be real careful in your own life about, I'm going to do this thing, and you take somebody else's core value. Like, I'm going to lose 40 pounds or 48 pounds in a couple of years, like Dan John did. Well, but if you don't have the fitness value in there, you know, if comfort is your second value and you're going to go outside every day and, walk 10,000 steps in a snowstorm, you know, good luck,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Because
That's
comfort's going to come headlong into walking in a snowstorm.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? I mean, not to, talk down on what we do, but fitness isn't exactly rocket science. You pick up heavy things, you put them back down, you try not to do it too much or too little, right? The real tricky part is getting people to do those basic, not rocket sciencey things consistently, right? That's the rocket science, right? But the problem is it's not a science, right? It's more of a bit of science, bit of art, a lot of experience, feeling around, testing, experimenting, and kind of throwing some stuff at the wall and learning from others. It's this hodgepodge, and the people have different. I like what you're saying there. I think that's a big part of it. Somebody recently was talking about, hey, a big difference between people who do the work, and this is a theme that I love too, versus people who procrastinate or whatever, is what they just tend to focus on most. Do they focus on the outcome more or the process? If they tend to think about the outcome more and they're not glancing at or thinking about the process, they tend to do the work. And one can see the obvious reasons why it would be. Whereas if one thinks about the process, and especially if you're not ignorant of the process, then you think about all those tedious, awful, painful things you have to go through, you're more likely to put it off. So this guy's thing was like, however you need to switch that mindset to be somebody who focuses more on the outcome and doesn't look as much at the process. Of course, you're looking at it while you're doing it, but that's not consuming the whole of your attention. That's the difference between the motivated person and the procrastinator, the person who does the work or whatever. So I think that's another part of it. Right now, again, you might say that's absolutely right. But then the deeper question is, well, how do I get that shift? Right. So we're kind of still back again and maybe for some people, it's just a matter of just intention, right? Just being aware, right? And
there's a phrase in theology: God lives in the eternal now. And I think I've often worked with people that they think once they lose this 100 pounds, then, okay, if I lose 100 pounds, then I'll be successful, happy, endearing, marvelous, great dancer, fashion, superstar. But the funny thing is, even if you do lose those 100 pounds, very often none of those other changes happen. But you can say right now, okay, I need to lose 100. So the right way to do it, if you can do it, is in a year I'll be 100 pounds lighter, but I'm already doing just fine. I'm very proud of myself. I'm on the journey. I'm going to dress appropriately for a 300-pound person. I'm going to take care of my you got to be now throughout the entire process. I think a lot of people think, well, once I'm married, then I'll be happy. Am I on the right
path? I think so, Dan. I think so. Right.
If once I get a wedding ring on, then all my dreams come true. Once I graduate, then I'll be smart. Once I get the master's, then I'll know what I'm doing. Boy, once I finish my dissertation and they call me doctor, now I'll be an expert in my field. You can just keep going on. If I owned that car, I would be cool. And so I buy that car, but I'm still not cool. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think I'm rambling, but at the same time, I understand what you said, and I'm just rambling.
Yeah, and that's good too. I mean, because that's just going to make sure that once you get the thing that you're after, assuming you actually do get it, you're not just setting yourself up for a series of inevitable disappointments, right?
Yeah. When I'm working with athletes, if I have a freshman thrower in college, Emily would come to mind. Threw 107 in high school, and here I am. We're looking 4 or 5 years down the road, but you have to remind yourself, you showed up today. You're a university athlete. You're successful today, and you're going to be. It's hard. It's a mind. I think I understand what I'm saying. I need to work on this a little bit.
Yeah, well, it relates a little bit to what we talked about before, where a certain degree of ignorance is helpful, especially when you're young, because it's easy to see the outcome of things. People are living it. You see the really fit, strong poster of the guy, or you see the person with this successful business, and you actually don't know what the process is. So you just start clicking along ignorantly, doing the work. Whereas if you were to see all at once everything you would have to do, you would probably get overwhelmed and be like, to hell with it, I'm not going to do all that. But if you just start plodding through ignorantly and keep your mind focused on the out, like there's things I look back like, I gotta give myself some credit. I did a hell lot of work there, but like, man, if people would have told me starting out everything I would have had to do, would I have done it?
Can
I don't know. Maybe not.
I have a funny little idea I tell people about when they're trying to do too much. Mm-hmm. You pull every kindergartner and you have a magic room, and inside the magic room is every book, assignment, paper, handout, ditto, every report, everything they'll ever have to do in one room. And you say to this 5-year-old, see, this is what you're going to have to do before we let you out of the school system to go play. I mean, none of us would get, we would start to cry.
Right. Yeah. Despair.
Can you imagine, here's your high school biology textbook. It's that one that's this big with, you're going to read this one day in a semester. You'd never get through it. You would never. I like this, and it takes us back to what John Powell, my old discus coach and good friend, inch by inch, yard by yard, it's hard. Inch by inch, it's a cinch.
Yeah, I like that. It relates to that one book called Bird by Bird, which is essentially the same. It's an analogy about this big project the kid had to do on birds, and the dad was just like, "Yeah, overwhelmed. This is huge, but we'll just take it bird by bird." Right? It's sort of
how do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff there. Like I said, it's not an exact science to it. But I think something in that mix is kind of the secret to what we're getting after, which is the ultimate thing. How do you do the work? Right? Explaining what the work is. We do that all day. It's guys, if people can't give you good, straightforward fitness advice, they are really, really dumb. It's just not that complex or difficult of a thing. I'm sorry, which is what makes it amazing how much bad advice there is out there. It's like the bar is just not that high, guys. It's really, really not.
That's the whole book, The Art of Coaching. Yesterday, literally, I was at Costco and a woman asked me where I got the Halloween candy. Watch what I did. It's right there. Simple question, simple instructions.
Yep.
And to me, if you want to lose fat, trust me, it's simple. You want to get stronger, it's, in my mind, simple.
But
boy, if I want to make a bunch of geeks online, get going, all I got to do is, oh my gosh, I'm not going to mention names, but watching this group of people fight with this bodybuilder guy has become just, it is. I can't believe.
I think I know what you're talking about, Dan. I've seen some stuff. It's pretty ridiculous right now.
It is brutal, and I guess they always put a little meme of Michael Jackson eating popcorn, and it's
yeah.
And first off, I find the fact that it's Michael Jackson offensive, and secondly, eating popcorn obviously doesn't help with my macros, so I can't. You look at the meme. Okay, that was a joke, folks. Macros. Yeah. Okay, I'll move on.
Yeah, the general point is what the stuff is that works, not complicated, simple. The hard part is putting it out in a way that is practical, doable for people, and then finding other ways to support those people to actually get them to do the stuff. That's the hard part. That is it. That's insanely difficult. That's the problem. That's it, right? Yeah.
When I had a couple of, because I'm oddly famous, so a lot of my classmates knew that, and they were asking me what the secret of exercise was, and it breaks my heart. This is my daily journal, right, folks? Yeah. And right there's my daily pirate map. You and I have been talking about this. Honest, it's got to be a decade.
Over a decade, yeah, for sure.
Before I go to bed, I make coffee for the morning. Take my Hibernate, which is my sleeping,
your tonic.
Make my to-do list for tomorrow. I lift weights 3 days a week with original strength machine sets. Walk 10,000 steps a day. Keep a pedometer in my pocket. Ask me if my pedometer is in my pocket. Here's my pedometer. Morning supplements, 2 basic meals a day, lots of fruits and veggies. Keep track of measurements, lifts, and photos. Make a difference. 5 points. You do those 5. I thought of this the other day when I was talking with Eric. You know, if you do 10,000 steps a day in 100 days, you've walked 1,000,000 steps. I don't care what it is. If you do 1,000,000 of anything, that's good. I mean, well, that's a lot. 1,000,000 is a lot. And you can, there are just, everything I just said, and I would hope you would agree, was pretty simple stuff. Not one thing I said was, but it's you got to do it every day, 365, 366, 4 years, and then it works magically.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about, you know, like for me, I when I was growing up, I would just find out what good discus throwers were doing and just literally do it. I mean,
no, that's that we talked about that before. That's what was called, without meaning it in a demeaning way, that's just dumb practicality. And that's what people need more of. You just need that sort of dumb practicality, right? Of just, all right, this guy's doing that. This other guy's doing, they're really good. This plus this equals that. I'm just going to do it. Done.
You know, Arnold had this workout called the Big Six, and it was basically Bosco's, Harry Pascal's program too. I mean, in fact, I wrote it in Easy Strength in one of my books. I can't see a difference. Maybe it's the last one. I don't know. But I can't see a difference between Arnold's Big Six and Pascal's, Bosco's, you know, program too. You know, it's where you bench, I'll just bench, pull up, curl, squat, deadlift. I'm just making this one. Row. Okay, good. Press, curl, doesn't matter. Just, you take the 5 or 6 most basic exercises. Every single listener would go, oh yeah, those are the big 5 or 6. And you do them. And what will that do for you? Well, if you do them, you might end up Mr. Universe, or Mr. Olympia. Can you make it more complicated? Sure, but it's not to be better, for fat loss, you walk, you sleep, you have some kind of caloric appropriate calories, and probably a good idea to lift something a couple days a week. It's that simple, but no one wants to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're hearing it. You're hearing it here, gentle listeners, and you'll keep hearing it here. You're hearing it here. All right, let's take questions because we've been going on for a while. It's been great stuff, but let's see what the gentle listeners have for us. Hope you guys found that helpful and interesting. Get what you pay for. All right, Steven says, I've heard there is a good mobility routine in the Kettlebell Workout Companion. I'm guessing it's the section on T-spine and hinge lifts. Yeah. I'm just wondering how to implement it, and I'm loving the armor building formula, by the way. And he got the new book yesterday, he says, as well. So
okay. Really, you would go through that. It's Steve, right? Steve, you go through that like you would a basic Thursday workout with us. You start off the pro neck nods. You do those. I mean, I know Tim would tell us to do it for 2 minutes, but I get bored after about 30 seconds. But you just go through them and you just build them up, and you go from prone to 6-point to the windmill position to standing, and it's just a gentle nudging progression up. That's how I recommend it. I did that. That's the warm up I do at kettlebell certs, no matter what the one is now. So when I'm teaching the hardstyle kettlebell, which is just the swing, goblet squat, and Turkish get up, that's the warm up we do, because when we finish the warm up, we've already done Turkish get ups. For RKC2, when we finish the warm up, we've already done windmills and bent press. So, it's Saturday morning at 9:30, and we're already into the windmill and bent press, and that's why I do it. On the regular ones, if I have full control, we've already taken care of the Turkish get up again, and then from there we can slide in. Then we can work on that Turkish get up. This sounds weird, but getting the Turkish get up out of the way in a kettlebell cert sounds odd to say, but it became such a cult that you almost got to get it out of the way. It's like That's why I try to simplify the Olympic snatch down so much for my athletes, because very often they would come in thinking it was going to be this, I don't know, flying to Pluto, and really it's just putting a bar over your head. And so, and it takes us right back to our conversation on simple. So
There
Steve,
it
the
is.
idea,
Oh.
keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Okay.
Yeah. Here's a good question. Interesting from Walt. I'm sure we'll have some stories to tell. He wants to know, have either of you ever not taken on a gig, or have you fired a client? I'll go first and quick, because I have immediate one that comes on. I mean, the answer is yes. Absolutely have fired clients. Experience when I was younger has greatly informed my coaching process today, which always begins with an initial screen and phone call and expectation setting, so everybody is clear on expectations. And if things aren't a good fit, I don't take on a client. So not everybody who wants to be a coaching client gets to be one. There are certain criteria that have to be met. That is informed by not having that when I was younger and starting out, and having lots of experiences where there was just not a good fit. The worst one, however, that I ever had was when I was in college, early on training. So you're excited just to take on any gig you can, right? As that youthful enthusiasm and ignorance. And I got hired as a corporate trainer, and like, this is cool, right? I'll get paid by a corporation to train their facility. Like, this is the dream gig, right? Oh, dude. Oh, man. So first off, only one person in the entire corporation showed up. And it was the worst woman I have ever. She complained about everything, refused to do things, told me what she wanted to do. Absolutely a hellish, rude, catty, brat, entitled. And like, this taught me so many lessons. And this is a thing where, like, there's some lessons you can only learn by swinging a cat around by its tail the hard way, right? And this taught me so much about, again, expectation setting, but direct relationship and skin in the game. One of the problems was this woman was not paying for these services. This was something that the company was paying for her. She had no direct skin in the game. So that like taught me an immediate, she doesn't really want to be here. She's taking advantage of a free service, and she is taking advantage of it. Now, I couldn't fire her, so I fired myself. I quit that gig almost immediately. And I told the guy who hired me, like, look, this is nobody you put in this position is going to be successful apart from them just being a glorified babysitter. And if that's all you want is a glorified babysitter, fine. But as somebody who takes this stuff seriously and demands a certain level of respect, at least in a client, I'm out. So that one always stuck out in my mind as the corporate gig, worst client experience I've ever had, and taught me a lot about just facilitating things directly, making sure that expectations are set, and having direct skin in the game. Dan, I'll turn it over to you. Yeah.
Well, folks, I hope you listen to that story, because the number of things. Now, you said things that are life truths too. I was at Costco yesterday, and they have that free. You can get that free food, and watching my neighbor people from Utah stand in line for the free foods and just grab them up and throw them away. And there's a real issue with, you get what you pay for with free, and as a worker, free is the worst. So just real quick, I was really lucky to have. I worked with Dan Quinn. He was the head coach I worked with for years, and Dan Quinn would tell the athletes, if you don't do what he says, Coach me, Dan John, won't work with you. He flat out, when it comes to the throws, if you didn't follow my rules, I just flat out wouldn't work with you, because it was a lot of work, and it always ended up that whenever I tried to save somebody, all it did was break my time, treasure, and talents. The one thing I wanted to just say, and I disagreed with this as a young coach, but I worked with a basketball coach, a high school basketball coach, who said something interesting. If a basketball player isn't a starter as a senior, you cut him from the team. He might be the 5th best player in your program, but if he doesn't start, you cut him. And I went, why? He says, if you keep that nice kid, he sits on the end of the bench, At the end of every game, everyone will start chanting his name to put him in. He's going to be a constant thing. Mom and dad are going to bitch out for him not playing. He's earned it. He said, cut him, deal with it in October, November with all the hassle. So you don't deal with it in December, January, February.
That is a nugget of wisdom right there, Dan. Yeah.
And I disagree with it still, but I would, if I was a head team coach now, I would do the same thing.
You would do it.
There's a famous football program in California, a very good one. When I did talk to their coaches about what they did, one thing they told me was interesting. They only suit 35 football players for games. And if you don't suit, you don't get your jersey, you don't get to stand on the sidelines, you sit in the stands like a fan. And the idea is you really only play 35 football players in a game. You really, I mean, that's probably on the high end for high school. But if you're not a starter, if you're not the backup deep snapper, you're not on the sidelines. You're not on the sidelines dicking around. You're not on the sidelines, getting in the way. You're gone. And I guess the reason I pulled those stories up for you is because in performance, in sports, we learn these lessons all the time. And it sounds so draconian when you say it out loud. But in the real world, you'll be so much happier if you just fire people. So yes, I have. Very often, I just walk away from them. I don't make it public. The other athletes will know, but people tend, in my sports, people tend to weed themselves out. In the collision sports, if you don't want to get hit, you just it becomes a field of dreams moment, when they go into the cornfield.
Just slink away.
In American football, there's 92 people on the first day of tryouts. There's 60 on the second. We didn't cut anybody. And then the team just field of dreams itself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Fun.
Yeah, it was a good. Hopefully there's some stuff there that you can use if you are yourself a coach or a client. You should always strive to be a good client, not just a good coach. All right, Jason says, hey, any advice on pressing the beast, 48 kilogram? He's at 44, so he's kind of close for singles. So, Dan, what do you recommend for somebody to make that?
I can answer the question again, but it literally came up on my go to my YouTube. I don't know what it's called. Just type in Dan John.
Type Coach Dan John. It'll pop right up. Yep.
And type in Beast, and I have and what's nice is that one of the listeners retyped what I said, so you'll have the whole program typed underneath there. No, just save you. It'll save you some time. It'll save me some time. And frankly, don't take this wrong, gentle listener, but it's only 106 pounds, 48 kilos. So I don't.
Just a peanut.
Yeah, but I understand why people want to press it. I get it. It's a good goal, but at the same time, we turn it into almost a religion. So I like the church to get up.
Yeah. This goes back to one of our favorite themes, which is always something that is there's no exact science to it, but standards. And you and I, Dan, while we may often disagree with some proposed standards out there, we're both fans of having standards, right? They separate us from looking like me, being a barbarian, right? if I had grooming standards, right? Somebody actually said to me the other day, I see you're not a slave to grooming. I'm like, that's a good one. I like that. But right. Yeah. So, standards are important. I don't know where you stand on the beast, if you think that's a reasonable standard for an individual or a cert anymore. But I think it's always worth kind of revisiting and touching. We like standards. Sometimes I think it's good just to have ranges rather than a specific point. To just accommodate individual. Yeah, just to accommodate individuality, right? Yeah. I mean, that was the one thing I always had with the original RKC is like, all right, I was snatching 24, which again, not a big deal. I had the fastest snatch test in my entire 120 person cert. But I'd look and to be like a guy who's 320 pounds, 4 times my size, snatching the same way. I'm like, for him, that's a 6 kilogram. I mean, it's a little silly. right? Yeah.
So I love, and I mentioned this before, and I kind of wish that Strong First and Dragon Door and RKC would all listen to this. The original standard for the RKC2 was you had to press the beast and snatch the 24 200 times in 10 minutes in a half-hour period. I love the idea. I love the idea with having one beast and a row of 10 24-kilo kettlebells, and just here we go. And that's it. You and then the rest of the weekend, or however it works out, is us teaching the fine points of the kettlebell world. And you've already proved you're ready. You already proved you earned it.
Yeah.
So, but that is a really effing high standard.
It's
like when you it's like when you go to the nationals. When I was a senior at Utah State, the standard to make the nationals was 56 meters. And I'll go to a track meet now here in the state, and the number of guys who can throw 56 meters, like this last season, nobody, not a single thrower. And so, you got UVU, USU, that other school, Utah, Weber, Southern, Tech, Colorado State, Boise, and no one could throw 50 meters. Okay, well, they're not going to the nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So with the RKC2, you can snatch the 24-kilo bell 53 times. That's great. But you didn't meet that standard. Okay, yes. You're still a nice person and I love you, but you're not to this one.
Yep.
I like that. And at the same time, it's just like that thing I said a few minutes ago about you cut this. Any senior who doesn't start, you cut. I don't agree with it, but I agree with it.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. And look, there are different standards for different roles, right? I mean, I don't think the average person, when we're looking for, hey, what's a strong enough standard, should be the same standard as somebody who wants to be, that at an elite level for something. Yeah. Has to be at an elite level. I mean, I'll give you an example that applies to me. There's this current controversy, which you alluded to, Dan. I'm not going to get into it. Part of that has to deal with the quality of some PhD work, right? Now, now here's the thing. I'm doing my PhD at an EU institution, and over there they have a standard, and I actually like this, that before I can even defend, I have to get at least 2 peer-reviewed publications in good journals. So you have to prove that you're actually able to be a researcher and contribute to the field before you can even defend your dissertation. I like that. Now I've already done it. I've got 5 since then, so I've surpassed it. But I like that sort of, and that's when people bitch about this. Why? Because it's hard.
It's hard.
Really, really. But hey, you're talking about, you want to be the world class at this thing. It makes sense to have a very, very high standard that should be filtering. If you're talking about world class, you don't have something that's filtering people out. You're just not talking about world class anymore. You've diluted what that thing means. And if that's what you want to do, fine. But then don't be upset when people scrutinize it for not being a piece of world class work, right? A little rant that somewhat relates to stuff I'm doing and the contemporary scene in some respects, right?
There's these parents now. And I've talked to, and I've asked, and I followed up with 2 of my friends who coach Division I football. And they both went, yeah, that's true. Parents send their sons flag football 7-on-7 films to Division I coaches. My son caught 300 catches in his flag football league. Flag football is fine, and it's a good sport, and it's a great sport. But unless you've had your head handed to you after getting hit in a tackle football game, it's easy to catch the ball in flag football, because then they just pull that little flag.
Yeah.
But, anytime someone caught the ball when I played, my job was to make them pay a high price for that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine. So flag football's here, but Division I college football is here. And very few of our listeners can make it in Division I football. Very few of our listeners can be rugby union international team players. Very few of our listeners can be Mr. Olympia. However, that doesn't mean that you can get all the benefits. It just means when you decide to make that next step, it has to be harder.
Yes. Yeah. Good talk. We've been kind of all over the place here, Dan,
Yeah.
but I think there's a lot of important things that have
Yeah.
been discussed that hopefully should be. So we're big fans of standards. We think standards should be appropriately
Yeah.
contextualized and, different standards for different, times and positions in life and stuff like that. So yeah, good. And then go see Dan's video on pressing the beast if you still want to pursue that. All right. Awesome. All right. Lots of good stuff here. Let's grab a few more. People seem quite excited about armor building, which is good.
Building.
Edward says he has lots of questions, but he just can't articulate them this morning. Well, go ahead and try, man. We'll try to translate if we need.
Sure.
iChef says he is sick, just coming to say good morning, and he appreciates these episodes. Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Hope you get better soon. We're all sick. We're all sick. We're all sick right now. I got a little cough and head cold.
Mr. Possible, I also have a dripping nostril with a little bit of in me. Having said that, I have bravely sat down in this chair with my cup of coffee to talk with Pat Flynn. Yes, the word hero gets thrown around a lot, folks, but I will take the mantle of hero.
Heroic virtue.
Yes.
Heroic virtue.
Achilles is literally stepped out of Hades and gave me one of these this morning.
All right. Dave says it's another pressing question. He's got a 12, a 16, and a 24 kilogram. But the thing is, he cannot do multiple presses with a 12 kilogram. So what should he do to get his press? I got to do some translation on the fly here. Press up, I guess. He's only devoted. I'm sorry, I can't really translate the last part of the sentence, but it sounds like he needs help with his pressing, and he's mostly just using the kettlebells for swings right now. Not very accessible for the press at the moment.
Huh. Well, one thing, and I can barely read it. Sorry, Dave. If you struggle with pressing, add a little bit of a dip to help give it a little momentum.
Yeah.
So it's called a push press, but you don't make it like it's not a.
It doesn't need to be a super jerky push press. It can be a little bit more controlled. Yeah.
Unbend your knees, pop it up, accelerate it through finish. But the thing is, always bring it down slow. And you're pulling the weight down slow, and then you're going to pin it against your chest, pop it up slow, and that's the best advice if you can't just get a lighter bell. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Yeah. No, I think that's saying sometimes people always say, "Hey, strict form." That's just not true. Push presses, long push presses, partial reps, negative, eccentric, like all these are absolutely proven helpful for getting past those kind of sticky points where, the bell just isn't going up with a strict form military press. So use the tools available to you. They are tools that are there and definitely work for that sort of purpose. Yeah. All right. Let's go on to another Dave. This one, David. David says, "Hey, Dan, I did one round of easy strength for fat loss. It worked great. Focused on the deadlift, the overhead barbell press and chin-ups. Then after completing it, I decided to rerun it with the same exercises.
Okay.
Second time around, the deadlift went up a little. Chin-ups improved by 8 kilograms, but the overhead press actually went down.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting down 85% of 1 RM was too big of a drop, and the first few weeks were too easy. Any thoughts on that?"
Yeah, Mike Brown was telling me the other day, we're doing this program right now, and both of our presses are both just crumbling. I mean, we are just our presses are dropping. They're not good. And I just, it's one of those things. And I'll just say this: the goal of the program I'm on is to lose body weight. I'm trying to keep my glutes and shoulders as strong as I can. I'm doing different things. My chin up is going up. My body weight is going down, which makes obviously sense. But sometimes when you're doing a program, David, something lags. And the most common lag most of the time I see is the overhead press family, because the overhead press, it's a fickle mistress. She is a hard one to work with. Presses, if you press 5 days a week, that should be enough to keep your press high. But then you'll also find you improve your press 1 day a week. And you'll also find it's just, so I would just, my answer is terrible, but the answer is this: the overhead press is a funny thing, and sometimes it goes up and makes no sense, and sometimes it flatlines, and sometimes it goes down. The idea is, as long as you're making progress on your weigh-in, on your other lifts, you're making progress. So just hang in there.
Yeah, good. Just maintain it best you can, and then once you're happy with your, body fat percentage or whatever, then you can work on boosting it back up later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is true. It's the old rabbits thing, David. And how many rabbits are you chasing? If you're doing a fat loss program and some of your lifts are coming down, and the funny thing about overhead press is just like like the power lifts. The easiest way I know to increase those lifts is just to add more body mass.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the opposite of what you're striving for. So you can only do so much. Okay.
Yeah, good. All right. Kurt is making a comment that related back to our just doing the work point, inch by inch, bird by bird. He says it sounds like the stair step analogy. It's hard to think about going from the bottom to the steps at the very top, but small manageable steps along the way makes the goal more attainable and realistic. And this is sort of, perennial, running advice too. Hey, just pick the next, seeable, relatively short distance. Don't think about the whole marathon. Stuff like that, these little mental tricks, if you will, that help.
Use them all the time.
Use them. They're effective. They definitely work. So I think it's helpful having some of these in your back pocket, testing them out when things are getting tough and seeing what can help push you through. So, right.
Yeah. And it is interesting. And I would just say this to kind of riff on Kurt's point. A lot of people just want to go to the first floor, the second floor, the third floor. And, a lot of people, the penthouse is at the very top. That's great. But a lot of people are very happy living on the fifth floor. And I think what hurts us sometimes, even on a podcast like this, Patrick, is I'll be talking about the beast or, this all-American performance my thrower had or whatever. And yet really a lot of people just want to, I just want to look good, feel good, move good. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
And so just make sure. And Kurt, your stair step analogy, let's add the floors to it, because really for a lot of people, it's interesting. And again, the 50-year reunion, I have two classmates who got married right out of high school, still married. So, they had their 50th.
That's awesome.
Their 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow. Yeah.
Someone my age married 50 years. And, they're at our 20, they had a kid in college, they're still together. They're still happy. Things are great. And it's interesting to listen to them because, they do great things, but they're very happy with the floor they settled on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perspective, as always.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a few more here. Wayne also has a comment on this. He says, we make it complicated so we can have an excuse rather than admitting we didn't want to do the work. Yeah, I think that's true at least some of the time, right? I think it's a sort of mode of rationalization and even indeed self-deception that we can engage in from time to time. I think other times it's just genuinely people just feel overwhelmed and that things are too complicated. So I wouldn't want to reduce it all to that, but I think that is a very real phenomena. I think that oftentimes, people start engaging in a sort of hyper analysis, especially online and on forums, because they're essentially just procrastinating, and it makes them feel like they're being productive when they're really not. I think that there's a lot of this going on. Dan, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, I like Wayne's point. And Wayne, you reminded me of why I'm such a fan of Aesop's fables, or Aesop. When I was young was Aesop, but it's more correctly Aesop. This is the sour grapes one. The fox kept trying to jump up and get the grapes. Finally, he quits, and as he walks away, he says the grapes were probably sour. Aesop also gave us the turtle, the hare, and the turtle, the hare and the tortoise, which of course is the metaphor I use for easy strength. There is some value in keeping those traditional fables in our head, because very often I'll be with somebody at a party who says they're all into wanting to be in the best shape of their life, but it's the Pabst Blue Ribbon talking, not really them. Yeah.
The Pabst Blue.
The
Is that
PBR,
is that still a popular beverage of choice?
Well, the reason I use it, it comes from when I was on the Velocity diet. I begged Tiffany not to tell anybody I was on this diet. So Tiffany, of course, told her mom, and once you told Gaylin, it would the entire universe would know. So I'm sitting there and I'm drinking a diet Pepsi, and I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, and this woman walks over and she's got a drumstick in this hand, a PBR in this hand, and she goes, I got to do this work, I got to do this diet you're doing because I'm all about discipline. Once I put my mind to it. And I've used that so many times in my career because my thought was, well, looking at you, I don't know where your mind's been for the last 40 years, but when you put your mind to it, maybe you can undo some of that damage. So that's always been mine, the PBR expert at a party. Yeah.
The PBR, yeah, that's good. All right, before we say goodbye, let's just grab this from our buddy Star Lord here. He wants to know if those are mangas beside you, Dan. You reading Japanese comics these days?
Mangas.
Manga, I think I'm not an expert, but I think a manga is a Japanese comic cartoon type of thing. I don't think that's what you have next to you. That's actually one of Dan's books right there. So why don't you hold it up?
That's my book.
Yeah, hold it up again, Dan. Let people see it. Yeah.
The Art of Coaching. And then this is the Armor Building Formula. And this is that cool thing from my dad. These are his book reports from when he was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, and the reason I pulled these out is because one of them's from 1935, and of course, what inspired me to go to my reunion was in 1985. My dad was at his 50th, so that was kind of
wow. That is
when I got back from the Middle East. My dad had just gone to his 50th, and he was the only surviving male member of his class. World War II and smoking are tough.
Yeah, wow.
And I remember thinking how old my dad looked, which is funny because.
Yocal Youth League. Oh, that's awesome.
I wouldn't know about that, but yeah, it's.
Yeah. All right. Before we say goodbye, Dan, what do you got coming up this week? What are you working on? Any trips or anything planned?
Week, I will be jumping on a plane Thursday. I'll be going to North Carolina. I'll be doing a workshop, the Art of Coaching, on Friday, and then hanging around with Tim doing the Pro Reset again. And then sometime Sunday, I'll get in my car and drive down and see my daughter Lindsay, her husband, and 2 babies, and spend a few days with them and then come home.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then Wayne says,
okay. Yeah, thank you, Wayne. We'll finish with this. He says, I really enjoy it when you both riff and rant. A lot of wisdom. Thank you both for your time. Well, thank you, Wayne. Yeah. Thank you, Dan. As always, a great joy. And thank everyone here for all their questions and engagement. If you like what you see, well, subscribe, leave a comment afterwards, and we'll see you guys next week.
And next Tuesday, I'll be at the hotel I do it at when I'm with you in North Carolina. Okay.
Works for me, Dan. We will see you then. All right, everybody.